Should've seen the way that you bloom. I think I saw your face in the
Hi, I am Christine May Makasili. Our topic for today is all about Neo-Behaviorism by Edward C. TOLMAN. But before that, I will introduce first a short introduction.
With new researchers' explanation provided by the basic principles of behaviorism appeared not satisfied on learning scenarios, new theories came into view which maintained some of the behavior's concepts but excluded others, and added new ideas which later came to be associated with the cognitive views of learning. The Neo-Behaviorists then were a translational group bridging the gap behaviorism and cognitive theories of learning. What is Neo-Behaviorism about? Neo-Behaviorism is a behavior cannot be fully understood simply in the terms of observation, stimuli, and reactions. Neo-Behaviorism introduced meditating variables into behavioral stimulus responses.
Their experiment they use a maze, a rat, and a cheese. There are two mazes were identical, except the entrance, and the exact points were reversed. Their experiments during the maze A helped them answer maze B a lot easier. Why? It is because they create mental maps of things they perceive. To respond with trial and error behaviorists, but later on, their response become more internally driven cognitive perspective. What is mental maps? It is a things or help them to respond to other things or tasks later, especially if there are some similarities of what two things are objects. You may begin to respond with trial and error or behaviors, but later on, her response become more internally driven or cognitive perspective. This is what the new behaviorism is about. It has an aspect of behaviorism, which also reaches out to the cognitive perspective. There are two theories reflecting neo-behaviorism that stands out. Edward Tolman's purposive behaviorism and Albert Bandura's social learning theory. Both theories are influenced by behaviorism, which is focus on external elements and learning, but their principle seems to also be reflected on the cognitive perspective, or focus more internal elements. Okay, in neo-behaviorism, of what I said a moment ago, there are two theories reflecting neighborhood behaviorism, right? The Tolmans and the Banduras. Let's focus first the Tolman's behaviorism.
aka sign learning theory. Learning is a cognitive process. Learning is acquired through meaningful behavior. Sign learning theory because pervasive behaviorism has also been referred as a sign learning theory, and it's often seen as a link between behaviorism and cognitive theory, and according to Tolman's theory, was founded in two psychological, those of Gestalt psychologists and those of John Watson, the behaviorist. And the second one, learning is cognitive process because it performing beliefs and obtaining knowledge about the environment and then revealing the knowledge through purposeful and goal-directed behavior. For the third one, learning is acquired for meaningful behavior. It is because the stimuli which are allowed in are not connected by a simple one-to-one as out ongoing responses. Rather than incoming impulses are usually worked over and elaborated in central control room into a tentative cognitive like map of the environment. And it is tentative indicating paths and environmental relationship which finally determine what response says, if any, the animal will finally make. Tolman's form of behaviorism stressed the relationship between stimuli rather than stimulus response. And also, Tolman said that a new stimulus, the sign becomes associated with already meaningful stimuli, the significant through a series of pairings, there was no need in order to establish learning. Let's move on to the K concepts. Learning is always purposive and goal-directed. Individuals act on beliefs, attitude, changing conditions, and they strive towards goals. Tolman also saw behavior as holistic, purposive, and cognitive. When we say holistic, this talk about the wellness. Purposive is to achieve the goal. The cognitive is all about the mentality. Learning is always purposive and goal-directed. When an animal is learning a maze, or escaping from a puzzle box, or merely going about this daily business of eating, nest building, sleeping, the like, it will be noted that in all such performances, application states goal clearly, especially clear object and direction for better results, or for achieving the goals. Remember that we have two types of reinforcement, the positive and the negative. Learning is a goal-oriented and a person always expects some gain or rewards for his effort. This is a positive rewards. Not getting reward may be lead to disappointment and low efficiency of work. The number two, this is a negative reinforcement. Learning is always purposive and goal-directed. When a person is learning, it has a purpose. Since it has a purpose, a person may now strive or aiming to achieve the goal. The next concept of Edward Tolman is the cognitive maps. Cognitive map, famous experiment on rats concluded the organisms are individual to be exact learned location and will select the shortest or easiest path to achieve goal. Rats created mental map of the maze. Problem. And after your teacher gave you a quiz, and you think the easiest way in solving this problem, in order for you to achieve your goal, which is the math problem solving. Another example is your mother asked you to buy a foods, and she also said to move faster. In order for you to move faster, you take the easiest way or the shortcut since your mother asked you to move faster. Application. A learner remembers a new words by visualizing them represented a memorable passion. This makes it easier and faster to recall these words. Rats created a mental map of the maze. Remember that Edward Stillman's theory is to let the rat achieve its goal. The goal is to finish the maze. Going to school. Since a student passes the same route going to school every day, she requires a cognition map of the location of the school. So the result, the students try to reroute another location, which is the shortest or easiest path to achieve her goal in going to school. Cognitive map help learner perform well. These include making mind maps, concept maps, and visualization. Three groups of rats that Tolman assigned in different locations. Group 1, reinforcement. Group 2, no reinforcement. Group 3, reinforcement given on the 11th day. So this is the chart where the performance will be monitored by the errors and the days.
So, the first is the group 1. The group 1 is low and they perform well. And they are motivated because of the reinforcement given to them. They know that at the end of the maze, they would receive a reward.
Now, let's go to the second group. The second group didn't perform well. They're just wandering around the maze since they know that they don't receive a reward or they don't have a reinforcement at the end of the maze. The last group has many errors and mistakes, but they start learning in the maze even though that they don't have received reinforcement. They actually observing this is what they call latent learning, reinforcement, and no demonstrated. The last group considered as the best performer um, among the first group and the last group. Let's now proceed to the latent learning. But what is latent? Latent means present but hidden, ready to come out of hiding if the circumstances are right. Learning that remains or stays within the individual until needed. Latent is a human nature, it is in us, but it is not yet fully discovered by ourselves. Sometimes, we also realize that we have that kind of skills. That is why a person is a unique. We have different skills, abilities, and capacity. According to TOLMAN, it can exist even without reinforcement. Whenever learning goes on without its being evident in performance at the time. Rats learn by roaming around the maze. Remember, the rats learned by roaming around the maze. When reinforcement was finally presented, they quickly showed that they had been learning as evidenced by the abrupt increase in performance. Example, a 2-year-old handling remote for the first time. A 2-year-old always sees her dad operate a TV remote control, observe how the TV turn in or how channel change and a volume adjusts. After some time, the parents are surprised on the first time that their daughter held a remote. The child already knows which button to press for the function. Through latent learning, the child knew the skills beforehand even though she never done it before. Is a variables that are readily seen but serve as determinants behavior. TOLMAN's purposive behaviorism called intervening variable to mediate the relationship between goals or purpose, heredity, previous experience, and the cognition. The initiating cause and result must be observable and operationally defined. Experimentation and rat hunger. Hunger was the intervening variable with rats. TOLMAN concluded reinforcement is not essential for learning although it provides an incentive performance. Incentive performance are reward system that tie pay to performance. In short, this is pay for performance. He observed that the rats was able to acquire knowledge of the way through the maze and even develop a cognitive map, even in the absence of reinforcement. Educational implication. As the learning is purposive, so what is taught to the child must be purposive and goal-oriented. No learning is wasteful, so a teacher must put necessary efforts to enlighten up the hidden learning. Children, while learning, must be encouraged to explore more and possible ways to solving problems. Reinforcement is not essential for learning.